What's up, guys? Casey here with the Coyote Works channel. I'll kind of chill back and see if we can get give a little bit of time for a few people to join, if anyone. Looks like I see a few people popping on here so far. I know a lot of times you guys ask me if I can announce these things ahead of time, but a lot of times I don't really know when I'm going to be able to do them until I actually do them. So cool, I see a couple of guys on here anyway. Well, I just basically wanted to give you guys kind of an update on what's been going on. I know it's been a few weeks since I've had any content out, so I wanted to kind of give you an update on what's going on. I've had a lot of questions about a few things, so I definitely wanted to talk about, I got a little list here I got to keep looking at, have things to do. So I've had a ton of questions this past year, as a lot of you guys know. I know, man, I'm working on more of the adventures. I definitely have several trips in the can, and a little bit I'll talk about some of the trips that I've been on and the projects that I'm working on that I'll have some content out before too long on. But I want to talk about a couple of things I've had a lot of questions about, and one of the things that I think is I'm hoping will end up being a really cool thing is I've always had a lot of people over time ask about how to contribute to my channel, and as you guys know, I've never done anything like on Patreon or anything like that. I am monetized on YouTube. I don't monetize all my videos on YouTube, but I do make a little bit of revenue from YouTube. But by and large, I basically support my channel myself. It, in essence, costs me money to have this YouTube channel going, and I happily pay for it. And for the most part, you know, the main expense is the camera gear and things like that. But I've had a lot of guys over time asking how they can contribute to the channel. So I'm going to try something. I set up what I'm kind of thinking about as a tip jar, and I stole that from this guy who does this channel, Lost and Abandoned Mines, I think it's called. He's this older dude that goes down in all these like freaky deep mine shafts and everything, and I really enjoy watching that guy's videos. But so he did this, he did a little tip jar link on his videos, and I contributed a little bit there. So I'm going to try this for a while. There will be a link down below in this video that's a donation link or a tip jar link. So basically it'll take you to where you can just donate if you feel like it. No obligation, no expectation, although I do appreciate every contribution that I get. Every contribution that I get, I want you guys to know, goes 100% back into the channel. So in the description below my videos going forward, we'll try this for a while. If you can throw a buck in there, that's awesome. If you can throw more in there, that's great. If you can't throw any in there, then by all means enjoy my videos and hit me up with questions, and I'm glad to have you around. So with that out of the way, the big thing that people have been asking about lately is the 2020 group Overland trip, the open invite trip that I've done the last couple of years. And this is really tough for me, guys, because that is something that I was really nervous about doing at first. As you guys know, I'm not really a crowds guy. Like, a lot of my adventures are solo or with one or two of my close friends or something like that. But I mean, by and large, 80% of the time I'm solo out there. So a couple of years ago, though, I wanted to start to give an opportunity for a lot of people who maybe were new to overlanding or maybe new to this area over here, a chance to come out and experience a little bit of what I get to experience in the course of doing my videos. So I started these open invite group overland trips, where basically, if any of you have been along, you know how it works. I've done an announcement where I announced a location that if you show up at that location at a certain time, you can follow me on a trip out into the desert and we'll have a great time together. So the first time I did that, there were 42 rigs that showed up, and I was a little nervous about that many rigs, a little nervous about being around that many people, but I ended up just having a great time, meeting some cool people. And what I thought was one of the most awesome things that came out of that was that a lot of the people that came along got to meet each other and connect and go out for other trips. So a lot of connections were made. So the second year I threw it out there again, and I thought, oh man, it's probably going to get a little bit bigger. I figured maybe 50, 60 vehicles, something like that. Well, I ended up having 102 vehicles show up the second year. But again, I mean, everybody's super cool people. Can't tell you how much I enjoyed hanging out with everyone, meeting everyone. It was just an awesome, awesome experience. So this year I was really looking forward to doing it again, but then the virus hit, the Rona, the COVID-19 situation here. And I happen to live in the state of Oregon, which right now is a state that has pretty heightened restrictions and a lot of kind of, I think, overhype stuff around the coronavirus. But at the end of the day, right now, we are restricted in this state from doing mass gatherings. We're under some pretty strict social distancing guidelines. We've got restrictions on our restaurants, many types of activities and businesses. And here's the thing, there's some things that me personally, I'm willing to push the envelope on. And I'll talk to you guys in a minute about some of my thoughts on the whole coronavirus thing and the government's involvement in that. But to make a long story short, with the restrictions that are in place now, and at this point, there's even word out of the governor's office that's saying that she might implement some even stricter restrictions beginning like the second week in September. So at this point, guys, I'm sorry to say, but there's just no way I'm going to be able to do the group Overland trip this year. If it was even close to, I think last year we had something like 180, 190 people and 102 vehicles. And I just can't put you guys all in that position. Some other stuff that's happening around that in the state is they are starting to actually enforce on violations of the social distancing and violent and restrictions related to the coronavirus. So it's just not something that I feel like I don't want to put you guys in that position. I don't want to put myself in that position. So unfortunately, no Coyote Works group Overland trip this year, as sad as that is to say. But having said that, we will absolutely do one next year. Either the restrictions will lift and we will be free to do that, or they won't and we will do it anyway. The cool thing is it's really growing size-wise to the point where it's really tough for me to find places out in the natural wild where we can go. But I've got some really good friends that have a ranch outside of Prineville. It's an old historic ranch called the Wind Down Ranch, and I've talked to them about potentially having the next trip there be an awesome home base for us, a place we can explore out from. If you guys want, go ahead and Google the Wind Down Ranch, and you can check out, it's my friends Roy and Mary that have the place, but there's lots of room there. We could actually even have some power and some things like that, and then we're right out in the middle of the Ocho National Forest and can explore miles and miles from there. So I'm kind of leaning that direction for next year. So one way or the other, guys, we will do that trip next year. So outside of that, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've had going on lately, and it always gets tough for me in the summertime. I think, as most of you guys know at this point, I love what I do on YouTube. I love exploring the outdoors and everything, but it doesn't pay the bills. So I have a real job that I go to every single day. At times, my real job can actually be pretty demanding, and a lot of times what happens is in the summertime, I get the most busy, and so that's the time that it's the hardest for me to get in all the time to edit and things like that. Any of you guys that have tried editing videos, you guys know that I figure that probably by the time I get back from a trip, I average about 45 minutes to an hour of editing for every minute of finished video that goes out. So as you guys can imagine, if I go for a trip on a weekend, come back and I'm going to do a 30 to a 40-minute video, that's going to be probably 30 hours worth of editing to get there. So I've got a regular job, got to figure out how to get that editing in and everything, which again, I'm not complaining. I enjoy doing all of that, but just give you guys a little bit of an idea why my content kind of slows down a little bit in the summer. Oh man, I would love to find somebody to help me, not necessarily just edit, but just with some of the other stuff too, like transferring clips off my cameras and you know, the other thing is I'm an amateur at all this stuff. It's just been kind of a learn as I go thing. So it'd be awesome, but I live in a small town, you know, and there's not a ton of other people around here where I live. Oh, looks like the the chapter of Overland Bound is planning a trip out here. I'd love to hear more about that if you want to shoot me a DM. So anyway, real quick, what are some things that I've been working on and some things that are coming up? Well, one thing I'm really excited about, as you guys know, I've got an old truck that I inherited from my grandfather when my grandfather died February 2 years ago. And as you guys may or may not know, my grandpa he was a source of a lot of my passion and knowledge of the outdoors. I grew up in a pretty poor family, and we spent a lot of time hunting and a lot of time in the outdoors. And my grandfather was, in my opinion, one of the most consummate, accomplished woodsmen that I've ever met in my life. And he continued that tradition through my father, my uncles, myself, and I always had a really close relationship with my grandfather. I killed my first deer with my grandfather. I killed my first ducks with my grandfather. I rode my first dirt bike with my grandfather. I mean, just a ton of kind of really monumental firsts in my life happened with my grandpa. So it was really a big blow to finally lose him. But I got this old truck of his, this old 1999 Chevy truck, and it's been sitting in my driveway. I've been using it as my range truck for the last couple of years, and finally this year I started thinking about building a second kind of exploration vehicle, and what I wanted was something a little more suited for longer range trips, maybe trips where I'm doing more miles on the highway. One thing about my Jeep is it will get me in any kind of rough, remote backcountry that I want to get into, but it is not a great vehicle for driving days on end on pavement across the West. So I started thinking about what kind of a truck that I want to get, and then eventually it just sort of hit me that it's a natural. I've got to build my grandpa's old truck. That has to be my other rig. I have to carry on that he loved that truck. He took my grandma in his latter years when his health was going. He took my grandma for Sunday drives every single Sunday that he was healthy, up until the day that he lost his driver's license. In that truck, they would drive around back roads around Junction City and Eugene, out in the hills, out past Fern Ridge and Cresswell, and drive all over Brownsville, the foothills of the Cascades, that whole area. So I'm really excited to start fixing that truck up. So I've been working with Josh and my boys up at Lolo Overland. We've got lift kit parts ordered for it. We've got tires ordered for it. We've got headlights ordered for it. And I'm looking at kind of like pop-up campers and stuff. I just talked to my buddy Mike. Shout out to Mike and Buddy, Mike's companion, Mike's little four-legged companion out back. He'll be heading out this direction. You guys will probably see us do some camping together. But Mike gave me some good tips on a good pop-up camper. So ultimately, I think that's the direction I'm going to go with the truck. But in the meantime, we'll have some videos coming up as that build comes together through Lolo Overland. I've actually been working on it the last couple of weekends, just replacing some trim and getting it cleaned up a little bit. Gray Dodge Overlanding, good to hear from you, my friend. Good to hear from you. So the truck project, I'm really looking forward to that. I have actually, in spite of the fact that I haven't been getting a ton of video out, I have been on some pretty good trips. So I do have quite a bit in the can. I went on this awesome trip, actually did most of the trip with Jamie and Sarah from Idaho and George from the Southwest Idaho Overlanding channel. I think George has already got videos out from the trip. So if you want to check out his channel, you'll probably see some of that trip. But we did something like 248 miles off-road, 3 nights, 4 days. Once we left pavement on day one, our tires never touched pavement again until whatever that 4th or 5th day was, when we came back out in Rome, Oregon. Some of the most remote areas left in the state of Oregon, and we went days on end without seeing other people, crossed back and forth across the Oahe River, cool old homestead sites in some really, really remote country. So I'm almost finished with part 1 of that video. I'm hoping I'll get it out this weekend, and that's probably going to end up being a 2 or 3 part series. Got another solo trip where I found I'm going to back up a little bit. So you guys know, as far as the history goes, I go in phases. Like 1 year I'll look for mine sites, and the next year it'll be homesteads. And so last year was homesteads, the year before that was mines, and this year has kind of been these old mill sites, and I've been to a half a dozen of those. So I've got another video where I found another old mill site. out there coming out. A couple other things that I've done that are a little bit different is I started doing a little bit of rockhounding, something I've heard about a lot for a while. Found a lot of like pieces just over the years walking around, but just recently started kind of having some fun actually specifically looking for thunder eggs or limb casts or cool rocks like that. They say Central Oregon is the rockhounding capital of the world, so like I've been out last weekend or the weekend before, I'm digging these thunder eggs, and one of these days I'll get these things cut open. But this is an Oregon thunder egg from the Ochco Mountains that hasn't been broke open. Here's another one, a bigger one. This one's about as big as a tennis ball or so. Then here's one that is broken open to give you an idea what can be inside some of them. This is kind of some crystally kind of material around here, and then in the center is this solid agate. So pretty cool stuff. I've got a couple of buckets of these things. Right now I'm trying to figure out how to get a saw set up to cut them up. I've been into a couple of really cool historic sites that I've actually are on another. I met some people that have a big ranch that has some pretty cool history associated with it. Found some old cartridges. So I believe this cartridge right here is a 50 caliber. I believe this is a 50 caliber old Spencer cartridge, old military cartridge. So it's a rimmed cartridge. It is actually a primed cartridge. And I believe this cartridge went into a Spencer carbine. Old rifle carried by some of the last years of the cavalry units. And then I started exploring this old bombing range, and I've been finding these old 50 caliber shell casings and old bomb casings out there. I don't know if the camera's going to bring this up, but look at the head stamp on this. I googled this head stamp, and I think this 50 cal case comes from 1941, where they used to run these strafing runs out across the desert out here in my country. Some other cool little things. This is an old pearl or shell button. I found it an old, really at the same camp where I found this shell casing there. And always in the vicinity of that stuff, I'm always finding broken pieces of arrowheads and other little artifacts and stuff like that. Most of this stuff I don't pick up. I did pick up a few of these pieces because it was on a friend of mine's private land, and he's okay with me picking this stuff up. But I'll have some pretty cool videos of some of those trips out there. Let's see, what else is coming up? So got about 3 trips in the can. I'll do some rockhounding stuff. Oh, the shooting thing. So I haven't put out much video on the shooting stuff in a while, but I have continued to work on that. One of the kind of I guess side effects, if you will, of this whole coronavirus thing, besides there being a massive shortage on toilet paper apparently, although thankfully I'm well stocked up on stuff like that. There's also been a little bit of a shortage on ammo, so that's put a little damper into my live fire training schedule, but I've continued to dry fire practice, and I don't know, I've still got a decent amount of 9mm and 5.56 ammo, so I'm still getting some range sessions in there from time to time. So you'll see some more shooting videos. I'm going to kind of get back on the stick with that. I've been posting a little bit here and there on Instagram about the shooting. Oh my gosh, something else I'm really excited about. After all this time and all the times that you guys have been asking me and giving me a hard time, I'm finally, I think, on the cusp of coming out with some Coyote Works merchandise. So again, huge shout out and thanks to my team over at Overland, or over at Lolo Overland Outfitters. So Daniel over there and Josh, those guys have been awesome. So again, this comes back to this time thing, but like there's all this stuff I've wanted to do with my channel for a long time, and having some merchandise has been one of it, but it's just one of those things I just don't have the time. It's all I can do to get my trips in, work my job, and get the video edited to get the amount of content out that I do, and I just don't have the time to do other stuff. So those guys have stepped up to the plate. I just got an email today. Daniel has come up with some initial kind of designs for some Coyote Works t-shirts. Looks like the first thing we'll do will probably be t-shirts. I don't know, let me see, what should I show you guys? You want to see a couple of the concept designs here? So here's one of them right there. We're still kind of in the concept design phase with a few of these, but hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we will have some Coyote Works merch out. So the other thing about that that's kind of hung me up as I've worked on getting merchandise together has been not only how to actually get it designed and made and everything, but even like how to set up the e-commerce platform to sell it. And again, that's just stuff I don't have time to do. So Lolo Overland is going to set up a place on their site. We'll have a little Coyote Works corner on there where we'll have some Coyote Works gear. We might even do, I haven't had a chance to solidify this, but what I'm hoping we might even do is like a little Coyote Works kind of gear picks corner where there's a list of the very specific gear items that I use. Oh, here's one you guys will really like. I think Daniel was just super happy to come up with this design of my old Jeep on fire. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's a vector image of my actual old Jeep burning on fire. Oh, this is one that I actually really like right here. I think so far this is my all-time favorite design, kind of this vintage looking tee. So look for, and I'll let you guys know when I do have some merch coming out. We'll get some links out and some information out to you guys about how to get that and where. But ultimately it'll be on the Lolo Overland website. Let's see what else. This is just fantastic. I'm getting text messages from my friends making fun of my poor presentation going live. Yeah, you guys know who you are. All right. My beverage of choice this evening. I've been drinking these Hints. It's basically water with a little bit of a fruit flavor to it. Couple of questions that I wanted to answer for you guys. One is I recently did a video on my range belt. Several people commented, messaged me, and had suggestions as far as my pistol belt that I should have some other gear on it, like med kit, tourniquet, things like that. So the reason my range belt doesn't really have anything else on it besides my holster or my mag pouches is because I'm at the range and I have all of that other gear is literally like within 10, 15 feet of me, sitting on the tailgate of my pickup or on the bench at the range. I have all of that stuff, bleeder kit, boo-boo stuff. However, having said that, I do have another belt, and this is the belt that I actually wear when I'm out away from the range. So this is more like my field or my duty belt. And you'll see a couple of things different about this. One, I'm running a Safariland holster with some retention on it because having retention out in the field's a little more important. You can see this badass Coyote Works Signature Series survival knife on there from CK Knife and Tool. And then you see I've got trauma shears, a good bleeder blowout kit, a tourniquet right on the top that's handy to get to. Basically, this is kind of like a major bleeder kit, but I also have a few things in there like just some athletic tape and stuff like that that I can take care of some small things too. Dump pouch, rifle mag pouch, pistol mag pouch, clip with some gloves on it. So basically the point that I wanted to make was the reason why I don't have that kind of stuff on my range belt is because all of that stuff is sitting in my range box very close at hand there. So I don't feel like I need it on my belt. So at the range, I just keep my belt stripped down with all the stuff I need just to work on the fundamentals of shooting. So that was one question I got. Yeah, I always have lots of tourniquets around everywhere, mostly those cat tourniquets. Let me see, what else do we have on here? Grandpa's truck, donation link, tip jar, description down below. Yeah, and I guess the outside of that, I'll see if you guys have some questions. You can start throwing them up there. When am I up in Washington? Well, I usually go up in Washington every year for the Northwest Overland Rally, but of course that was canceled this year due to this pesky little virus. Oh no, the comments keep disappearing so fast, I can't catch up with them. I know, I hear you as far as getting out there and practicing with the ammo shortage. It is really tough, and like I said, I'm doing okay on ammo now, but eventually that will come to the end. Oh, there's a comment in a foreign language that I don't understand. I don't even know what language it is. Um, but as always, I guess one thing that I just feel like I can't say enough is how much I appreciate your support. And I my favorite videos to do, as you guys know, are the long trip videos. Like that's my passion. That's where I have the best time out there. I get a lot of questions about the gear and things like that, and I don't mind doing those. But I really like just the long trip videos. That's again, that's just where my passion's at. That's what I love to do. But they're also the most labor intensive to edit. So I always feel bad that I don't put more content out, and I always hope someday that I'll be able to. I mean, one thing is, as my channel does get a little bit more successful from a monetary perspective, then I can kind of carve out a little bit more time. I can slack off on some of the other things that I do in life that generate some income. So, that continues to happen little by little. It gets more financially successful. But I just really appreciate the patience that you guys have. I appreciate the fact that even though it goes a long time between, oh, that apparently was Russian. Oh, that's Mike and Buddy. Let's see. Oh, air rifle. That's actually a good suggestion. Huh. So anyway, just wanted to say how much I appreciate you guys, your patience, your support. Like it really does. That's the inspiration that gives me the motivation, the enthusiasm, and the energy to keep going is like just that knowledge of how happy it makes some of you guys to see some of my videos, and the feeling that from time to time I actually get a little bit of a role in inspiring some of you guys to get out there in the woods and enjoy things out there. Like at the end of the day, that's really the thing that motivates me and drives me, is that positivity and that and us all being able to connect around the outdoors and being interested in the outdoors. And then one thing that I get a lot of personal satisfaction out of is just feeling like I get to sort of be the catalyst to connect a lot of the rest of you out there together too. And it's been super cool. The friends that I've made through this process has been amazing. I'm sure I've said this before, but the process of doing videos out there like really does make me sort of feel like all of you guys are with me when I'm out there in the field. I turn on that camera and I'm talking, and I've got all these years of answering your comments and seeing you guys by name and interacting with you, answering your questions, hearing your tips and suggestions and everything. And so I feel like you guys are sort of with me when I go out there in the field, and when I'm talking to the camera or when I'm filming, I feel like I'm talking to you guys. And so that's a really cool experience for me. That's definitely added a different, really positive dimension to my trips out there too. So I think with that, I'm gonna have to grab some dinner. Thank you, Ezra. I really appreciate that, man. Really appreciate that. It's about time for me to grab some dinner, so I appreciate your support, guys. I'm gonna get busy. I'll be editing video this evening after I get done with this, man. Thank you, my friend. I just got another person said they just subscribed. Really appreciate that. Steve's asking about GPS coordinates. Man, listen, so here's the deal. I'll throw this out there for those of you that have stuck it out this long in this live video. So the secret to getting a hold of me directly is direct message me on Instagram. I have a pretty small following on Instagram, so I tend to see all of my direct messages on Instagram. Now, at some point, that's probably going to change. But if you're interested in going some of the places, I'm not opposed to sharing GPS coordinates to some places once I get to know you a little bit and get to understand that your intentions are pure and you'll take care of that land that I love out there. So don't ever hesitate to send me a direct message on Instagram or even an email. I mean, you got my emails in the about thing on my channel, but just know my email gets buried. I get hundreds and hundreds of emails a day. So I just do not see all the emails, but for now, at least, I see almost all of the direct messages I get on Instagram. So, man, I just encourage anybody that wants to reach out to me. I do my very best to respond to everybody that sends me a direct message. I do my best to answer every question I can on Instagram. As there are times when I can't keep up with all of it. There is going to be a day that comes that I can't, but I always do my best, man. And I just appreciate you guys. So, I'm gonna grab some dinner, man. So that's all for this one, guys. Thank you. Take care. Coyote Works out, and hopefully I'll have another video out for you guys this weekend. Cheers, y'all.